Hello, beautiful. And what I'd like to know is what's good in your life today? I'm Kia, and this is a very special episode of the Female Veterans Podcast. I'm live to bring some information to my female veteran sisters that can really help them, as always, which is my mission. And this evening, I have someone really special with me, and she's doing something really beautiful for the community. And I wanted to share it. So I didn't want to wait. I wanted to come live with her and have her explain to you what is going on this weekend and how you can get involved. So I have with me Lola. Lola, tell us what you do for female veterans and how you got involved with it.
So I facilitate and write and publish about our community, about veteran women and our experiences. And since 2015, I've been facilitating a veteran women's indigenous healing circle that has taken us, from Hawaii to Seattle to Taos, New Mexico to Ojai, California, and hopefully Puerto Rico soon. We'll see. But it's an incredible group of women that come together to witness each other and to do community healing. And, I'm very honored that I'm able to do that. And in conjunction, I've gotten the opportunity to facilitate with other organizations, including Milltree, and the group that we're going to be getting together for this weekend is a female veterans grief retreat. Grief is, I would say, a constant in our life, but we tend to think that it isn't, or we hide the grief, or we're shamed to be in grief. And this is an opportunity for us to come together in a circle via Zoom to be able to talk about certain kinds of grief, and pay attention to a particular kind of grief that is, right here in our center at the moment, because of course it moves from one grief to the other via disappointment of, where we work, or the grief of losing a parent or partner, or worse, or our experiences in the military and the grief that we had being there, be it moral injuries that we experienced while in the military, or, military traumas that we experienced as well. And so just talking about those griefs, I think and the research shows it, is really an essential component of trying to find balance with our mind, body, and spirit. And so with Carolyn Hartness, Deb Guerrero, and myself, we have crafted a retreat of 3 days, 3 hours each, on February 9th from 4 to 7, Saturday from 10 to 1, and Sunday from 10 to 1. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday, but, we're hoping you can always record those commercials to watch later. Of just being there and witnessing. And if you're wanting to share, you can. And if you just want to support others that are there, you can as well. And one of the things that we really were kind of thought was just this great thing was talking about how grief can be healed through humor. So we're incorporating humor, and encouraging the women that come to bring humor that they can share with the other women. Because, as an indigenous native person myself, that's Chickasaw and Chicana, trust me, Indian humor has kept us alive. That's how we survive. When people start criticizing immigrant issues, it's kind of, one of those things that we need to look at our history as Americans to really see how, sometimes how contradictory the discourses can be within our own communities and within rhetoric of politics. But for the sake of this event, we're going to be bringing in humor and hopefully teaching some skills, a part of your toolkit of what are some of the things that you can do in this time of grief. And maybe sometimes it's sharing things you haven't in the past. It's like a confidential space, and we create, we share how to build an altar, what the importance of an altar is, what can be the purpose of it for yourself. It could create a safe and sacred space in your home where you can go and you can release a lot of that grief. And then in the process of those three, really deep days, you build community and you're able to stay in touch or continue to participate in these kind of groups. And so we've have people from our last retreat come onto this retreat, and hopefully it'll continue to build into a community. And it's interweaving with all the other work that we do, because it just is. There's no way that you can have people over here creating the circle and not have that conversation with people over here creating a different circle, and understand that ultimately it's about creating, a community of care and love and compassion. Some of those necessary emotions, right, that are
Yeah.
often we're, I don't want to say trained out of us, but you're told to function in a particular way around particular people in an institution and environment that's high intensity, and it's all about the mission. And then once the mission is done, sometimes you take care of the people, but sometimes you don't. And so, as a community, as a society, we're well aware of the issues surrounding veterans when they come home, and
Yes.
sometimes the inability or the lack of resources or the lack of understanding to try to reach those communities that are not necessarily really inclined to participate in a place like the VA
Hmm.
or a vet center, or be around men for that matter, and they want to be around women and feel safe around women. And so we provide a space for that. And the conversations that I've witnessed, that I've been a part of, that I've shared, have really, I know for myself, have really liberated a lot of the heaviness that I had. And I had been out of the military. I mean, I've been out of the military 25 years,
Oh my gosh, we
close.
must have got out around the same time.
Yeah. So, and I mean, and we still talk about it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's how much of an impact being in the military can have
I mean, it's a
on.
huge it's a huge chunk of your life, and then
Mhm,
it's intense.
yeah.
It's so intense,
Eh,
and yeah.
yeah, most definitely. And it reorganizes your life and your way of
Mhm.
being and understanding, even your language. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay,
And your
like,
humor.
yeah, my daughter asks, so what time are we getting up? I'm like 06. And she's like, what does that even mean, mom? And so, it's interesting because you just have it in you,
Mhm.
and I mean, it didn't help that my husband retired from the military, so we were very much a part of the military culture for a quarter of a century. That's quite a bit of a time. That's that
For
my
sure.
children's. That's all they knew, and so even the grief of not growing up with their cousins, not understanding what their father did, not even knowing that I had been in the military until my oldest was a teenager when she found out I was a
Wow,
medic. I
really?
didn't I didn't talk about it. I just
It's
didn't.
common.
I wanted very much to put that part of my life behind me, and it would just show up in these very particular ways, like 0600.
Mhm.
It's like
It sneaks out.
it sneaks out, and so,
Mhm.
and what I have found in doing this work is that we have a shared commonality, a camaraderie that is very particular to us, including even, I would say, the not necessarily getting along with other women. The
Mm, interesting.
the participating in the misogyny within our own military structure, and therefore the inability, because if you're the 1 in 100, you're the only woman, you end up representing all women. And if
Mm-hmm.
another woman comes and she doesn't perform, then obviously you represent all that failure, right? And so it's just unfortunate that that's the discourse that happens in the military, and we try to dismantle that a little bit at a time in these circles where we can say to each other, I don't want to know your rank, I don't want to know your history, we're not talking shop here. We're talking about building community. We're talking about trying to bring balance back to our mind, body, spirit, trying to use indigenous methodologies, the indigenous ways of being, which have worked for our ancestors to survive. And they had these incredible ceremonies. And part of those ceremonies included being in circle and sitting together in circle and revealing those things that are hidden, so that way there's transparency and there's a way that we can collectively come together and figure out a way to mourn, to grieve, to laugh, to find joy, to find solutions. We have to kind of untease everything that kind of we have put away for 10, 20, 30 years, and it's been in a closet somewhere or in the attic or just away from really being addressed. And it does inform how we behave in the world, subconsciously or consciously. And so this is a way to kind of tease that apart and kind of pull at it and just kind of try to find ways where we can even address a little bit of it. This isn't I mean, it could, but it's not necessarily something that's going to fix everything. But the practice of the beginning, the practice of doing it once, doing it twice, and like I mentioned at the beginning, grief is constant in our society. It's all around us. It's just inherently a part of everything. And so much like happiness, much like, other experiences, but for some reason we've been made to feel ashamed of it, or we don't talk about it, or we're given like a day or 2 days to grieve a bereavement if one of our parent dies, or and so it's just kind of like, be quiet, don't talk about it, let's move on. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you suppress that, it can be really detrimental to your health and to your body. And
Definitely.
so, yeah, so this is what this weekend is going to be about. And we have a good group of women. But one of the reasons that I did want to come here with you was to open it up. If the women that are going to be able to watch this, or the people that are watching this who have veteran women in their life, can hopefully reach out to you or to me, or you can give them my email or my contact information, because we do have events often. I don't know if events is a correct word, circles, where we come together and we just take care of each other, and we're choosing to do that. And they're more than welcome to participate with us. And I think that's, and it took me a long time. So I can imagine that it'll take, it can take a little bit, because you don't trust. And sometimes to be in a circle or to come into a place not knowing can be scary, and kind of
Definitely.
like, who's going to be there, what is that going to look like. I don't want to talk about my military. That's not necessarily what you need to. Nobody's going to pressure you to not talk about what you don't want to talk about.
No, you don't have to disclose.
No, and judgment is suspended. You know,
Important.
confidentiality is key. Respect for each other, honoring vulnerability, honoring the tears as sacred medicine, because that's our body doing the work of healing us. I want to cry now thinking about it. But that's the sacred water. That's the most sacred, is the tears that we were able to to share with each other. And we live in a society where it's like, just wipe your tears, just put it away. If
Yeah.
there's not a metaphor, I mean, that is a heck of a metaphor of putting away grief, right? It's don't
Mhm.
cry, straighten
Yeah.
up,
Suck it up. Like they
suck it
told
up.
us in the military,
Yeah,
right?
most
Suck it up.
definitely, suck it up.
Suck it
you know
up.
and in this
Mhm.
place, if you cry, it's almost like a welcomed experience, because that means that you're feeling safe enough to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and these spaces have to be safe. And so, to the best of our ability, we've been able to create safe spaces where women are able to do that and can come to these groups. And because I know for myself, I know, you know, I wish we had the capability of Zoom and, all this new technology 10, 15,
For sure.
so that I would have been able to at least process some of
Yeah.
that experience that I had. And unfortunately, it wasn't there. So now that we do have the technology, and now that we have these kind of avenues, it's like, hey, we need to be resourceful. What methods? What can we use to be able to reach out, especially to women that don't want to leave their home, that don't want to be outside, that don't want to be interacting, and can close their computer and not have to do the long goodbyes. Yeah, they
Yeah.
can do that as well, and participate in whatever capacity they want. And I think that's what's the most beautiful, is that we're creating a container, a space where women can share or not share, be present to whatever they would like to be present for. And so I think that creates definitely a safe space for the women. Yeah, and I've seen that work in retreats very often. And in some cases, there's some breakthroughs where somebody's speaking and it resonates with somebody else, and then it brings up another memory that they had suppressed for a really long time. And so it's those little, a little bit by little bit of doing that work. And it's life work. It's work that
Yeah.
you might end up doing the rest of your life. And that's okay. That's, we
It
breathe.
is okay. We have to. We
Yeah.
have to take our time, and it has to take its process. And I just love that you guys have created this safe space where female veterans can come to commune, to learn
Mhm.
indigenous healing, and to be in this space of safety and security and learning and sharing and just being able to really, like, the retreat is called Transmuting the Mantle of Grief, like truly
Mhm.
transmuting that grief. And there is so much to be grieving, let alone what happened in the military, just the state of the world right
Yeah.
now. And it's a
Mhm.
great time to have a space to have that support system. And this is happening this weekend.
Mhm.
And all the information you can email gunseek53@yahoo.com for
Mhm.
more information, to get enrolled, to ask questions, to learn more about the program. How many of these have you guys done? I know there was one last year. I put it on my Instagram. I'll put this on my Instagram too. But
This, I think this will be the second or third one that we've done. Carolyn, Debbie, and I, that
mhm,
we've done on this. But hopefully they'll continue, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully we'll build community, and we'll be able to, no matter if you're in Michigan or New York or Florida or wherever you
I
are
love
in the
that.
world. I mean,
Hmm.
I was stationed, we were out in Japan and in Italy, and man, could I have used a circle,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're out there alone. so, so this is at least for me, it has been something that has given my life purpose, which is to witness other women and to be present there as they tell their story, and to validate their story, and to sit with them as they do the work that they need to do for themselves. And really, that's honorable work, to be able to do
Yeah.
that. And it's really humbling to be able to do that as well. But yeah, I mean, we will be, like I said, I do the Veteran Women's Indigenous Healing Circle every year around September. And we travel to different locations, and some of the women just follow us to those different locations. And so we'll be doing that as well this coming year. And hopefully we'll have more of these to reach veterans that are in rural communities or, like I said, overseas,
Yeah.
And here at home, you could be next door. And if you just don't want to be around people, but you want to be, in your pajamas and at home and doing some of this work, I think is, hopefully this can be a vehicle for that to happen.
I hope so too, because I think it's really necessary. One of the things that I do like to talk about on the podcast all the time is community. And it is the
Mm-hmm.
advice that I've given to veterans well before I started the podcast
Mm-hmm.
and since. It's that sense of community and belonging and being with other female veterans is so deeply healing, of sharing your story. And I'm told that time and time again by
Mm-hmm.
guests on the Female Veterans podcast, that coming on the podcast has helped them in some way heal just by sharing, just by
Yeah.
getting that story out. And so imagine, being able to do that in a room full of women who are also sharing, who are
Mm-hmm.
also healing with you. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine the energy and just like that, the magic in the space must be so incredible. And by the end of these 3 days, you have transmuted a lot of grief and you've transformed in some way and healed in a lot of others. I think it's beautiful work that you're doing, and that's why I couldn't help but support it.
Oh,
So I want
thank
to
you so
thank you
much,
so
Kia.
much.
Thank
Well,
you.
the pleasure is all mine. I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing some time with me to share about this and get the word out. I'm definitely going to share on my social media accounts as well. And I just hope, with as always, that the Female Veterans Podcast, and especially this quick little episode, lands in the laps of the people who really need it. It finds who needs
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and we can continue the work of helping female veterans and to help
Mm-hmm.
them heal and to transmute that grief and just have a richer, fuller, better, happier life experience because of it.
Yeah, most definitely. And I don't know if I'm a helper necessarily, but I know that I'll facilitate and I'll sit there with you and I'll keep you company. And I think that's what this is. It's about keeping each other company and kind of witnessing each other. And I think that there's nothing more valuable than sharing your time with others. And that's the most valuable thing. You don't get that back, right? And so
No.
choosing intentionally to spend time with other veteran women is something that is needed. And I'm grateful to Carolyn and Deb for supporting me as a veteran in doing this work as elders, and to all the other veteran women that have helped each other, because it really is about community work. And so I'm really grateful for that. Thank you, Kia. The work that you do is just incredible. And so I'm really honored that I mean, this is some pretty incredible, at least it gives my life purpose in a
Yes.
way that is unexplainable and unimaginable. And so I'm just grateful for that opportunity to do that.
Well, I mean, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to be able to support your veteran sisters is truly extraordinary. And I am so grateful for everyone who supports this podcast and gives me the
Mm-hmm.
space to do what I love to do, which is talk to female veterans and share their stories and their experiences so that the world knows that we're here, because the prevailing perception is that veterans still in 2024 are men.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I still, have people thinking, my ex husband or the guy I'm seeing is the veteran and it's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I will have to say that it's important work that we're both doing, and I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad that you took the time to share about, the grief circle and how you'll help women to work through that. And I think it's going to be a beautiful weekend, and I know that you're going to
Mm.
be able to help a lot of people. I wish I could be there, but
No.
I'm traveling. Otherwise, I would be. So I just love what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me today.
All right. Thank you so much. And
And
if any of the women want to, email that gunseek53 at yahoo.com. Yeah, that's right. We'll be able to, answer any questions they might have.
awesome. I hope they do. And I'm sure you'll have a wonderful turnout as usual. And I hope that everybody that turns up there gets their maximum healing, and I'm sure they will. So I highly recommend it. I hope everybody goes and emails gunseek53 at yahoo.com. There will be other events. So even if you miss this one, just send an email and let them know you'd like to be on a wait list for the next event. And that way they can start organizing ahead of time. So everybody that wants to be involved and or have this kind of experience, don't hold back. Send an email, let them know, even if you can't make it to this weekend's event. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Is there any final statements you want to say, Lola?
I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to sit with you and laugh with you. Oh my goodness. Laugh and cry at the same time is like the best thing in the world. And I can't wait to do it with,
Such therapy.
yeah. I mean, talk about, good medicine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I wish I could be there. But one of these days, it's going to fall on a weekend when I can actually come to it. Because I'm dying to transmute some grief. I've got some grief I'd like to transmute.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I know it's going to be an incredible experience. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up. So I want to say to everybody, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I appreciate you so much for all of your support. Definitely check out the audio version of the podcast. I'm new on YouTube. It's typically audio only, but I've just done a video. So maybe I'll do more of these. And well, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.